I'm Cecil Davis, Major U.S. Air Force, retired, and currently employed at Tuskegee University, working in the Office of Admissions. But I'm about to go to security on campus. I'll be on campus for a little bit longer, but unfortunately, right now we got a campus-wide power outage, so that kind of cripbles my attempt. But again, Cecil Davis, Major U.S. Air Force, retired.
Hey, it's Kellen, and today on Diversified Game, we got a different type of game. We're going to talk about retirement. Let's talk about pensions, and let's talk about when those things can be stolen. Yes, folks, especially for you younger generation, do not expect any government or to have a foolproof plan for you in retirement. Work on those things now. Today's guest is Major Cecil Davis. Yes, Major. We got a Major in the house. I think this is our first Major that we have had from the Air Force. And he's going to talk about how in retirement, his retirement was stolen and he wasn't the only one. So Major, thank you for being on. Please give us the game and tell us what is going on.
Okay, well, hey, I appreciate your offer, and I appreciate your audience too. So I'll do the best that I can, like I say, keeping it all level-headed and decipherable. But again, I'm in Major retired Air Force. I did 20 years Air Force, career Air Force. My background is B-52 bombers. So my wife says that's kind of warped my personality, which is not true. But anyway. But like I say, I've been enjoying retirement, doing the things I like to do. I'm presently living in Tuskegee, Alabama. I work at Tuskegee University and enjoying that. But also I enjoy the military retirement pay. Like I say, under the terms of when I retired in May of 1990. Wow, that was a while ago. You could make it to 20 years, and then you go and you enjoy the military retirement. So that was coming in. No problem at all. But then after a couple of years, I noticed that I got hit with a garnishment, and the common expression around, my friends and a couple other folks who were supposed to be knowledgeable, hey, they can't really hit your military retirement. They being, I guess, ostensibly it was the IRS, Internal Revenue Service, but we found out some other things later. But like I said, I got high respect for the Internal Revenue Service, or as the kids say, mad props for the the Internal Revenue Service. So I'm not portraying them, hopefully not, as the bad guy, but like I say, systems are being compromised, are being utilized, et cetera. But I received a correspondence a couple of years ago that the retirement pay was going to be garnished, for payment for back, monies that were owed to the Internal Revenue Service. So, okay, I saw the big banner IRS, and so that is with most people. It gets your attention. It's kind of like a monolith. It sits out there, in the open, and everybody pays attention to it. So I'll let them drive the ship or fly the plane, and I'll just follow along. So they did that. I always had a suspicion about that because I kept in the back of my mind, they garnishing and military retirement. Can they do that? Well, then it further went into the, of course, Social Security. I had when I reached retirement age as far as Social Security is concerned. Then also they hit that, and again the same chorus of voices came up. They can't do that. I said, well, guess what? But then again, that was kind of a hollow feeling. And then after a bit, I began to contest it. I had retained the services of an attorney at that time. I'm no longer with that attorney, but at the time I needed to seek some legal guidance on that. So he pursued the matters and all. And then, of course, he introduced me to a gentleman that I'm working with right now. And also there's a team that's working with, I would call him the whistleblower, and a very knowledgeable individual. And it's by happenstance that I happened to run into him. I did a deposition tape for my former attorney, and the whistleblower happened to see it and thought about it. He says, I think I've got, or I could maybe suggest some remedies to you. And so we got to going on that. And the first item of suspicion that hit me was once we got the paperwork going, we started making connects and contacts through that process. All of a sudden, the garnishments went away as if by magic. So, not to make this a melodrama, I called the whistleblower and said, hey, thanks for all that you do. Hey, you're a great person, like that, God bless you. he had no idea what I was talking about. I said, the garnishments just kind of went away once we got to working and doing whatever. And he said, really? And so I'm thinking, I'm waiting for the punchline, but it was none. He was just as mystified as I was. So I got to think, oh, wait a minute. Now, this seemingly on the level, then all of a sudden, when you kind of making a little paper trail or whatever, it, as if by magic, goes away. What's going on, or like he's saying the comedy there, what you talking about, Willis, type of thing, because I'm thinking like, that was interesting. But anyway, so, and again, I began to just really partner up, buddy up with the whistleblower, and I says, hey, we're going to get to the bottom of this thing. And it was quite a revelation. But what I'm stating to you is that, and for those who are listening, a lot of times when you're approached, the usual reaction is you see IRS, and you may not notice anything else. But then I found out this through, and I call it scholarly work that's been done by the whistleblower. I mean, he has a document that he's done, very well put together. And like I say, again, because since I'm in academia, this is like a PhD level, like a dissertation. He could probably get a PhD off of this document that he's done here. And I really begin to get some insight into some things that, I started to connect the dots. I started to, really begin to understand the smoke signals. I can read the smoke signals now, and I can really hear the drum beat, and I can understand what that's doing. I'm thinking, so this is what's been going on. So it came out to a tune of, over the years with the wife and I, about $106,000 plus that was taken. And apparently, the real sounds kind of odd. The real IRS apparently never got it. So who got it? Type of thing. So that's the thing you really have to watch out for, because everything looked above board, everything looked great. I mean, hey, this what has to happen, and I'll leave that to your imagination. But that's kind of a snapshot, a little bit more than a snapshot of where I am and what's happened to me.
Well, let me ask, just so it's clear, because, the first thing people are going to say, well, if you're garnished, what children did you have while traveling around the world? I'm sure, people asked you that and said, well, what child support were they taking it from? But if it's not that, and it was a fake IRS document, have they found the corporate? Have you received your money back because they found that it wasn't the IRS getting the money?
Well, we're in a process, the team that I'm working with, to include the whistleblower and adequate, more than adequate legal representation. We're petitioning to get those funds returned to me. So that hasn't happened yet, but that's in the process. So that's part of what we're doing in the overall effort that we're making to, first of all, get the word out, and then seek compensation, seek a remedy for what's happened. And then also, so I could tell my story to give those out there who are listening to this, who are really saying to themselves, man, this thing sounds awfully familiar. Matter of fact, it sounds too familiar. As a matter of fact, type of thing. You can go along with that train of thought. And so that's what we're doing. But we're pursuing to get repaid for those monies that have gone out there, and then we'll call it pretty much a good deal.
Well, if the IRS did not get it and someone was, pretending to be them, that means somebody robbed the IRS and or robbed you using the IRS, but somehow tapping into their system. I mean, this is money. $100,000 is nothing to sneeze at, especially in retirement. Why won't they just, like a credit card? If someone steals your credit card, why won't they just give you your money back?
Well, I think that what's happening is this thing is so pervasive, and what all has happened, and like thinking the actors or the bad guys, so to speak, they have very well insulated themselves. They have overly protected themselves. They're not just the common guys. They're not necessarily hiding in plain sight. But now, when I say that, in a sense, they are, because we have some ideas as to who it is, but they are so well, like say, insulated that you'd have to, I don't know, it's going to be something extraordinary. This is the process we're going through right now to go ahead and then smoke them out, so to speak. They're very well placed within government, but the like I say, the server that they're using, I could throw out a term, Trojan horse server. I could throw out another term, usually when you get correspondence or something, if you do that, from the IRS would be irs.gov. They don't have an irs.co. Like, so when you see that, automatically it should, throw up a red flag. But who amongst us would even notice maybe that subtlety? You wouldn't. And as a matter of fact, they are so articulate in what they've done that they have fooled the likes of my bank is PNC Bank. They have fallen victim to them. Bank of America, Wachovia Bank, I think when they were separate from, I think Bank of America, they were also victimized by the same thing. You're thinking, wait a minute now, these are like in the banking industry, these are corporate giants, and they got them too. Yeah, they did. But what happened with me, and this wasn't the military pay, this is my compensation that I get working for the university. And again, my wife, she's had some illnesses and all that, so she's kind of riding at the medical roller coaster, so to speak, with the cancer situation going on and a couple of other things. I was about to take her up to what we would call the Kirkland Clinic, is in the southeast. Some people are familiar with MD Anderson, which is in the southwest, and I think it's the Houston, Texas area. They're medical specialists. And then, of course, you got the Mayo Clinic up in Minnesota. They're kind of like, they provide the umbrella under which all these other little, subsidiaries fall. But these are where the experts are, type of thing. We were about to go up and get a thorough brief on exactly where she was and some proposed remedies, et cetera, they're going to propose. Well, I couldn't go because I went to the bank to get my payroll check, and I was informed that the account was zero. Well, at the PNC Bank, if your account goes to zero, you close the account, and I definitely didn't do that. So I was asking the teller, I said, how can it be zero? I never closed the account. And she said, well, you didn't, but apparently there was an action on your account you're apparently not aware of. I said, no, I'm not. So anyway, they told me to see the bank manager, which I did, Miss Wright. And we sat down, and she said, yeah, we got correspondence in. She wasn't that articulate on exactly what the correspondence, the nature of it. But she said, yeah, and we were directed to go ahead and vacate your account. And so getting the correspondence from Internal Revenue Service, et cetera, then that's what we did. So that's what happened. I said, I wasn't notified. She said, I don't know about that part. I have a number that came with the correspondence. You might want to go ahead and try that number. Sure, I will. So I called the number, and I got, a young lady on the phone, explained to her what happened. She said, yeah, well, that happened because, and now this is just kind of a shot across the bow. Okay, so translation, what does that mean? Well, we did that to get your attention. Said we've noticed that, you're indebted, et cetera. So we want to go ahead and move on your account to just show you that we have that ability. Said now, some people think that this is going to be like for the duration until all monies are paid back or whatever. We don't do it like that. We'll just do a shot across the bow, got your attention, and then you can go ahead and make appropriate arrangements. Something I wasn't notified, and I told her about the medical situation, et cetera. Well, she apologized for that. She's so sorry, but yeah, correspondence was sent out. So I never received anything like that. I said, trust me, if anything comes to me in the mail or however, electronically, it has IRS on it, it's got my undivided attention. So I would have noticed that. I didn't see anything about that. But she said, well, this is where it is. Okay, we did recover that money and said, and so, your account is not closed, et cetera. So, into that statement. And I'm sitting around thinking, that was weird, type of thing. So, but again, I did bring it up to my attorney there, my former attorney, and he thought the same thing. Says that's kind of strange. But again, that's building the piece. But that's how they operate. They're insidious. Like I say again, they could actually operate in plain sight. But unless you knew exactly what you're looking for, you wouldn't even notice it. And when they come under the banner IRS, you're gonna do what they tell you to do.
So, and I'm sorry to hear about your wife. I've dealt with that with my mother, and I know that.
Wow, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, God bless her. And the doctors are doing their best guess work when they give diagnosis, because I know they're not always true. My mother lasted way longer than they ever said she would. She never smoked or drank or any of that. But I say that.
Wow.
Yeah, I say that you being in Alabama, Houston is the best place for right there in Houston. They have
MD Anderson.
Yeah, Houston. I don't want to act like I'm an expert in that, but just with my limited experience, it's a great place to go if you are in the South or anywhere. And Mayo is also great as well, but. Let me ask you,
yes.
With them, I'm a scam buster. So I look at everything. Part of our company has an executive protection and investigation type thing due to some past experience that I have.
All right.
Are they blaming you at all, saying you gave these people access to your account? Or are you just getting it taken from what the government gave the banks? Because if they say, oh, you signed off on this and you allowed this, organization to take, I mean, is that at all part of your story?
Well, and that is, there's that cloud that's out there. I'm not talking about up in the cloud, but there's that cloud of suspicion. Like, I'm thinking, as I've always heard, hey, the IRS, they know more about you than you know about yourself. So as these things were happening, I'm thinking, okay, through whatever network they're using or whatever connects that they have, this is how they're doing it. So, no, I never signed off on anything. And believe me, a lot of this stuff was like, just I got, to use the street expression, I got cold cocked because I didn't see any of this coming type of thing. And so, no, I never gave permission to do whatever, and I don't know how they accessed it. I think, like I say, again, I have a common expression I use, especially with my young folks, magic mirrors and blue smoke. If I see something I can't quite figure it out, that's attributed to that. But I figured that whatever they needed on me, they were able through whatever mechanisms or whatever that they use or technologies they use to do that. And so, and I kind of put myself at peace with that. Like, okay, that's obviously what happened. Still, there was in the back of my mind a question mark. But I said, okay, they are the omniscient, omnipresent, and all that good stuff. And so this is what they do, and this is what they can do. But I was just shocked when it went down, type of thing. And I knew I never gave permission for any of that to happen. And especially with the university check or they didn't know anything about it either, because I'm almost thoroughly, I'm going to beat the bush on this one, find out exactly what happened. Where did this thing go off the rails? And it was a common thing. Like, no one was quite sure, but it was IRS, and it must be legit. Okay.
Okay, but we have made it clear, correct, that it wasn't the IRS, so the IRS is saying it wasn't us, and that someone has broken into their system, meaning they've been hacked. What have you got any notification from the IRS? You have documentation saying the IRS says this wasn't us, or that this was our fault because our system was breached?
They have not. It's amazing, the silence is deafening on their part because, and again, I think we've provided appropriate notifications up and down the line. The whistleblower is taking care of, certain notifications and all. And so beyond that, I don't know. I would think that they would know or should know. But again, I didn't personally approach them because, again, working with my initial attorney, who, like I said, again, I'm no longer using his services, I kind of did like a power of attorney type of thing. So he was the mouthpiece. And so I don't know that he did that. He never briefed me on a lot of different things that were going on. So and they may have, but if they gave him an apology on my behalf, I'm sure he would have probably let me know. Well, I don't know. Like I say again, I'm sure he would have. I'll flip over all the cards, give him the benefit of the doubt. So he never approached me. He was very well aware of what I've been telling you, but he never said anything more about it. Then, of course, we came to a parting of the ways, and kind of very professional. I guess I think I'm gonna go in a different direction. But he never cleaned out the file and told me anything that I didn't know. So I never received anything from them, and if they sent it out, I never got it.
Okay, so there's some more investigation, and with your attorney, those records, those are yours, that you can request in an email from him saying, I want all the information on this case, even though he's not your attorney anymore, and his office can give that. At any, it's just so much. It's bothersome. What about the bank? Has the bank given you proof of when the money was garnished, and then where did it go? Have they gone that far?
Yeah, okay, they did when I approached them about that, but basically they told me, they repeated what they told me the day that I actually found out there was zero in the account, and they were just stated that they were just contacted, but they never provided the correspondence. Were they contacted electronically? I'm sure it was probably via mail. I never saw any of that. But again, as you mentioned, and this is something that I guess I've been kind of out in the fog, over all this, I'm not putting common sense, together and saying that, yeah, I'd better start requesting some of these things because this happened, and I don't know. A lot of it, I think, happens so that I think people would have to get into, my background. And what I mean by that is it's not like a flip type of background or anything like that. I do take notes of things that happen, significance. But again, I had 2,400 flying hours in combat aircraft, specifically B-52, flew Southeast Asia the whole bit. The one thing that we know in flying that airplane, if something happens, a mistake or whatever, you can't go retrace whatever. You have to keep going and keep, hey, is the airplane flyable? Am I good to go? I got enough fuel. Can I make it to destination? Yes. And you keep going. It's not like being irresponsible, although sometimes people might think, well, hey, what are you going to do? So I never did. I said, okay, I got over that lump. I'll say I've got some satisfaction out of this thing. Wasn't quite what I wanted. But again, as you mentioned it, it's bringing the cold, clear light of day to me and saying, hey, you're kind of leaving some loops, some holes out here. Like you need to fill in the holes or, and do that. And I hadn't really thought about that. I keep the airplane flying forward and trying to get, accomplish what I need to get accomplished. But, and I didn't. And one other thing that you don't do, if you have an unfortunate experience or whatever, flying combat, the last thing in the world you ever want to do is do a 360 and come back and fly over the territory again, because you get a little surprised. So with that mentality, and like I said, I'm not speaking to irresponsibility or like a flip kind of attitude. I'm not at all. We just keep the thing going. I mean, there's too many things out ahead of me. I got to stay ahead of the airplane type of thing. So that happened. I'm sure, like I said, I could compartmentalize that. To go back and revisit, as I told you, I'm going to revisit hitting the Internal Revenue Service, the correspondence, the bank with correspondence, university. I'm going to do that as a result of this conversation. But I never thought to do that. No. And again, I was a loser in all this. So you would think that I would really, be on that. But I guess that's not just my mindset. But it's changing to that point. And the whistleblower, working with him has been a godsend because he's putting some light in some areas that I needed light. And I never thought I did, but yeah, it's coming out to that I did. So, I'm going to do that. But it's happened. But like I said, I got to go revisit it. And I'm getting more and more time now as I approach full retirement that I could probably have time to do that.
Well, yeah, and I'm glad I can give that insight. Again, this is a space that, I love to find a scam, break it down, and then go after and see how it was, and let people know. You're dealing with your wife's health, and just real life situation. This COVID thing can't help. And so you're trying just to stay sane. Sometimes people don't understand. They might judge you and say, how could you not do these things? But sometimes just to stay sane and keep a smile on your face takes all the effort and your focus. So you have some things you can go do. And if you can't do them because of time, a private investigator can easily find a lot of that information out, and they're not too expensive. But we want to make sure that you get your money, and also that this isn't something that 100, 1,000 other soldiers are dealing with. Because during retirement, you shouldn't have to worry about this stuff after serving your country. You should have a military attorney be able actually working on this for you. As the VA, or are there no services that you know of that can help?
Well, it's interesting. I'm glad you mentioned that because there is another issue that I was working on separate from the issue at hand, the IRS issue. And also I was a member of what's called the Air Force Association. And that's supposed to be an association of active duty and retired military, Air Force military. And they provide certain legal services and all. But I don't know, maybe it's the way I presented myself or whatever, but I did approach them on another matter, not really that similar to what we're talking about now. And they did all they could to talk me out of it. Well, these things happen, and do you really want to go through? And I told them, well, one thing, I guess I don't. So I terminated membership with that association. It wasn't a vindictive thing. It was just the sort of thing like, hey, this is like, to me, kind of almost approaching life or death type of situation. And you guys aren't really taking it seriously. You're going to try to talk me out of doing what I have to do. So I did try to go through the Air Force Association, which is a pretty pretty stand-up organization. They have quite a reputation. I guess my situation didn't click with them, but I would not sell them down the creek. I mean, I would encourage anybody else to go through there. But people have suggested, hey, go through VFW for different things. Go through the Veterans Foreign Wars, of course, and all the other organizations. But I haven't taken that. And then one other piece, and you touched on it, and it kind of it kind of lit a little light bulb in the back of my head. The wife, for me, she is the original worry wart, type of thing. And so with her condition, I try not to keep too many alarming things in front of her. If I get like a correspondence, something like maybe a menacing sort of correspondence from Internal Revenue Service or wherever these people are, I would keep that away from her, because then she'll worry about that type of thing. And like I said, she had initial diagnosis of breast cancer back in 2006, and so we did surgery, got rid of that as a partial, mastectomy. And the doctor, the oncologist, told us, says, look, cool out. Don't be so worrisome, worry, whatever. Don't do that. He said, just relax, enjoy yourself. And I told the doctor, I said, that's mission impossible for her. If we had the world's best time and efficiency expert come to her and tell her, I've done a time efficiency expert study on you. You have nothing to worry about. She would worry about the fact that there's nothing to worry about. So she's like that. And so I try to keep things away from her. So I try to, whenever, like sometimes we talk to the whistleblower on the phone, she'll be overhearing it. What are you guys talking about? Who did what? Are we in trouble? And, type of things that, look, babe, you don't need to worry about that. I got this type of thing. So, and that's another reason why I kind of keep, cards close to the vest, and I don't act, because she's on it like white on rice, and then she'll be worried about whatever. And I'm thinking it's not that consequential, although it may be, but I don't let her know that. So that's another piece of the puzzle where I try to keep things, not, like violating the confidence of husband and wife type of thing, but I'm keeping it real. She don't need to be worried about certain things, because that'll, exacerbate another situation she's got going on and make her medical situation worse.
Definitely. And for anybody, who's just got married or thinking about marriage, you men, you don't have to tell your wife everything. I'm not saying keep secrets, but there's some things you need to handle as the chief of the house, because
okay.
Some things, not everything, because somebody will take that major and they'll say, oh man, I had a late night out. Let me not tell my wife. I didn't tell you that. I'm saying there's some things, especially with their own case, you got to hold it to your chest. But just so people know, any, fellow veterans out there, was it your Social Security that they went after, or was it a different retirement account?
No, well, actually, it was the Social Security that I assessed, the Social Security Administration. I had qualified for those monies, and then in addition to the military retirement account and all, and so then that's what they went after. And like I say, and so there was no other retirement account or anything else. The only other thing they did was, of course, with the university's payroll, they went for that, but that was on a one-time basis. They never did that again. But that was it, Social Security, and then the military retirement were the things. So the military retirement, of course, that's through DFAS, Department, Finance and Accounting Service, Defense, Finance and Accounting Service, DFAS. And then, of course, Social Security Administration. So they did go after those. But once again, the curiosity of that whole thing was, like, say, when I started working with the whistleblower, filing appropriate documents or whatever, it kind of magically went away. And so, but anyway, but like I say again, I don't want to, anyone who's listening to this think that it happens as if by magic like that. I'm sure there must be another way or process or something we can suggest to them. But that's what happened to me. So I don't know if it's going to happen. It's not standard across the board, because I'm still kind of scratching my head thinking, what just happened, type of thing. So, yeah.
Okay. So, with the whistleblower, thank you for saying something, because then somehow the folks who are stealing said you're at notice and they move on. What is your congressman, and I know you had spoke to your congressman, what have they done for you?
Well, that's curious. I'm glad you brought that up. My congressman, local congressman, of course, U.S. Representative Mike Rogers, and he's represented the district pretty much central and eastern Alabama. So he has several counties that he does. But it's interesting. When we first got started, of course, that was when we had the the Republican, White House, and we had members of Congress, et cetera. That was, before they had the changeover, the power changed over. And I thought about it, and I said, well, we're going to approach Mike Rogers, who's a Republican. And I said, now, I don't know if him being approached by a whistleblower is going to be harmonic, is going to really fill the bill. So I wasn't sure. I didn't hold out that much hope, but it's a step that we had to take. I mean, we had to take that. He is my representative, and so we have to, make him do his representative business type of thing. So I never got any response at all. And we had contacted appropriate office staffers. I think we had one staffer. I think it was actually in his Washington office. We certainly contacted, I think, at least two people in the Alabama offices. So they knew who we were, what we were about, how we're going to approach. We never received any response at all. So we've been seeking to maybe kind of like, I should say, poke the bear, but we've been trying to get through other processes, maybe a note to his office, like, hey, you have a constituent who has legitimate concern type of thing. But I don't know. Like I say again, I don't know if it's maybe a career ender for him, if he gets involved with a whistleblower concerning this sort of thing. And then, of course, I've never been a conspiracy theorist. I don't do that. I wouldn't be good at it if I did do that. So I don't know if, because I've talked to people, friends of mine, and fellow retirees, and they say, hey, I wonder about, no, let's not go there. Let's deal with, what's written in black and white. Let's not go where we see on TV all the time, because sometimes, but I don't know why there's been no response. I guess I could speculate all day, but no response at all. And there have been several attempts, and we've had one of our attorneys with our team, approach him with a very eloquent letter. It's very easily readable, non-threatening or anything else. It's kind of more informational than anything else. But bottom line, it was seeking his assistance. No response there either. And so I've made a couple of phone calls to office staff, et cetera, assuring them that, we're not, a bunch of wild men running around with our hair on fire. We don't do that type of thing. And they're very cordial conversation. Nothing, no results. So bottom line, at this point in time, as of this conversation, nothing.
All right. And Congressman Mike Rogers put on notice, this would be a great, PR, helping a veteran get some money back that he was, it was stolen. Not even that you did anything, just that it was stolen. That would be great PR, because it's not like it's the military's fault. It sounds like PNC Bank, if I got it correct, they have an issue. Yes. They had a breach, and that they need to make some answers. Are you looking at suing PNC Bank?
Yes. As a matter of fact, I'd like to say again, and this conversation has kind of, pumped up my interest even more so. A lot of times I look for direction on exactly how to approach. And now my whistleblower, in the collaboration that we've established over time, he's been very helpful in terms of, because like I said, again, I'm your classic, soldier in the trenches type of thing, waiting for orders, waiting for direction, and being a 20-year career military officer, I got so used to doing everything by checklist, doing everything by directive. If an appropriate party presents it up to me with command authority, you tend to, yes, 3 bags full type thing. As long as everything's reasonable, that's what we do. And so that's why I would throw this piece in. A lot of my military brothers and sisters who either active duty or retired, this tends to be, it's kind of like the mindset that we have. Like, we get an order, however we get the order, it seems logical, it seems reasonable, it seems legal. That's a big deal. When they tell you, when you go through your training, coming into active duty, you make sure it's legal, whatever they ask you to do, type of thing. And this reasonable comes from a reasonable authority, you do it, without question. This is what you do. And so sometimes, like I said, that leads us down that primrose path. Like somebody watching this was thinking, man, and I'm not gonna say we got a bunch of suckers out here or a bunch of, naive, whatever, but they could kind of, through whatever circumstances they're using, they could exploit that. Like, we'll just send them a very authoritative letter, throw the IRS name around or whatever like that. Though, and like I say, it's like the Pied Piper, they leads the children right on out of the village type of thing, and they could do that. And I think that that's where some of us military, now we're not, like I say, we're not a bunch of suckers, we don't, say that, yeah, we're easily played. Because, see, like, if you know anything about my background, I grew up basically in the projects of West Dayton, Ohio. And the last thing you ever want to do for anybody on the street or otherwise is realize you just got played. So, and if you did, you're going to keep it to yourself, or you don't want to let anybody else know you got played. So I think that a lot of that comes into effect as my, like I say, my brothers and sisters, the active duty retired, as they see this thing, a lot of them will internalize it. They won't say anything like, wow, well, that sucker, I don't want that word to get out, type of thing. And then they try to seek remedies or whatever on their own, which is not the thing to do. And that's why I think with me, we have a method of communication. We refer to it as AFVETS. That's AFVETS. And if you go to that, you use that contact, then you'll find out a lot more as to what we're doing and all. But and I encourage that. But it's more specific, www.AFVETS. That's AFVETS.net. And you can go to that. And then where you put /join, and that helps us with those who want to join the movement.
I will definitely have a link, whether they are listening, watching, no matter where. You can see the link and click on that and connect more. There are some things that I want to tell the major, just even moving forward. But I'm going to do that off air, folks, because a good general never lets the enemy know what's coming. So, thank you for coming on and sharing your story. And let's take this conversation off air, man.